All right, we are in the second task for the Ohio Learning Standards class that we're taking through Ashland, and I'm going to talk you through what you need to do for task two. You are going to review uh, all of the standards in this particular task. So in task one, I asked you to look at the introduction and make some comments, and I'm still waiting to hear from a few people at the time of this video. But that was just to kind of get an idea about how the standards came to be. Now we want to read through all of the standards, all of them. I want you to take your time and read through all of the standards. Now, if you're in more than one content area, just focus on one. If you're in the primary or intermediate, or you teach more than one subject, just focus on one content area because that'll be a lot. And I want you to read all the standards. That'll take some time. You probably want to jot some notes down because you're going to make some discoveries. And I want you to be able to share those discoveries. And I want your reading through the standards to be useful to you. Now, you may have already read through the standards quite a few times. I want you to do it again because I think after reading the introduction, you'll make some important discoveries in the standards, especially after some of the professional development that we've had this year. Now, you can't pursue progress in all of the standards. There's just too many. So we want to be selective about which ones we're going to focus on. But for now, we're going to read all of them through. And I want you to see how the standards appear in certain grade levels and are introduced in certain grade levels and mastered in later grade levels and where the emphasis has been placed. And also how some of the standards have changed. Some of you are going to have standards change in maybe February, like science and social studies. And this is not a waste of time to you because your understanding of the standards now is going to help you when that revision takes place. So as you're looking at these standards, I want you to be thinking as you read, what do I need to start doing in my classroom? What do I need to continue doing in my classroom? And what do I need to stop doing in my classroom? I think you'll make some of these natural discoveries. Now, I don't want you to make those answers to those questions per standard. That's just way too much. Maybe like 5 standards, all right, that jump out of you as really important for one reason or another. Take some time to get acquainted with all of the available resources on the page. All right, so you're going to read all the standards in your content area. You're going to share back with me about some of the discoveries that you made. You're going to look at some of the resources there, and I'm going to see if you see any new tools that you can see yourself using. Does the Ohio Department of Education site look any more useful and manageable to you? I'm hoping it does. In your grade level, which standard looks challenging and why? We'll be coming back to these standards for an important assignment soon. So it really is important that you look at all the standards. Now, I'm going to jump into the ODE site with you right now and kind of take a look with you about some of the discoveries that you may make. And you can simply do a simple search. That is the wrong state. Ohio Learning Standards. And as you jump in, this graphic serves as well. The two I want you to focus on this task is the red Ohio Learning Standards and the resources. First, let's click on the standards. Let's find our content area. Mine's English and Language Arts. You can see a lot of resources in language arts in the left column. We're going to look at another way to view those resources here. There's also some model curriculum, and we see notices about transitioning of the standards. And so for next year, the new standards officially take place. So I select on the most recent standards, and we've already read the introduction down to page 12. Now we're going to read through all the standards. Now, if you're really pressed for time, go to your subject area and look at the year, also the age that you teach, and look at this year before your grade level and the year after your grade level. I'd love for you to look at K through 12 because you'll see patterns development. But definitely look, let's say I'm a 7th grade teacher, all right? There's grade 1, get all the way down to grade 7, all right? We can see these bands right here, the same standard, but we see it in 6th grade, 8th grade, and in the grade that I teach, 7th grade. Look at those of how that standard evolves over there, all right? And so you're going to spend a lot of time here looking at these different standards. Ask some questions, be thinking about better ways to navigate it. Towards the end of your standards, if they've recently been revised and science and social studies have not, you'll see that they have some built-in literacy for history, science, and other areas, which is useful for our history teachers and our science teachers. Our history and science teachers will be using some of these standards in their classrooms. And then also you'll notice there's some focus on career and college preparedness, which I think is just outstanding. So that's language arts, which has recently been updated. But let's take a look at a subject area that has not. Let's jump into social studies. All right, so social studies does not have the resources off to the left sidebar, and they are the model curricula down below would be very useful. Here are the standards, all right, but these model curricula are not meant to be followed. They're just meant to be used as guides. And so in mapping, you can use some of these to get some ideas of what you're going to be doing. But I jump in, and these are from 2010, but they're our most current standards. And again, I would love for you to go from kindergarten all the way through and understand all the areas. But if you want to go right into your subject area or your grade level, that's understandable. All right, jumping back, I'm going to take one more look, and we're going to go to science. Science is going to get a revision soon. Again, doesn't have the resources off to the sides, but there's our Ohio standards, and there will be some big changes. These are from 2011. But looking at the model curriculum, the focus they have on these standards will help us better understand the upcoming standards as well. All right, now let's jump back all the way to that graphic again. And I want you to come back and click on the resources. Now, some of you saw your resources in the sidebar, but I can pick my subject area. This time I'm going to choose science, all right? And they did list some additional resources, okay, there. There's not as many for science and social studies as there are for math and language arts. And that reminds me, I need to take a look at math. And so these are a lot of the same tools that you saw in the left sidebar when you looked at the standards. I'll go back and do that now. So I go back to standards. I'm going to select mathematics. And then you can see these resources in the sidebar. I'm just wondering how many people really have taken the time to go in and look at some of these different resources they've provided. They can be quite deep and all sorts of additional links. And if there's any bad ones, let me know. But I think this is all worth investigating. So jump into the Ohio Learning Standards, read through all of them, and then take a look at the resources on the ODE site provided there. After this task, the second task, we're really going to get after it with starting some mapping of the standards. But I want you to have a good feel of what you're looking at. So good luck, and I look forward to seeing your posts online.